completed his BE degree from Sahyadri College of Engineering and Management, Bangalore. He has got 3 years of experience in Flutter app development. Currently, he is working in DT Labs, Bangalore. So today he is going to speak about Flutter app development. Students are requested to hear and he has got 3 years of experience in Flutter app. Currently, he is working in DT Labs. So today he is going to speak about Flutter app. Students are requested to hear and make use of this program. Thank you. Ritesh, over to you. Ritesh, your PPT is visible.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So okay, so today I'll be conducting a session on cross-platform application using Flutter. Okay, so on a you know so about me, my name is Ritesh and I have completed my engineering in computer science from Sahyadri College of Engineering, Bangalore. So I have been working on Flutter since 2018 and I have already developed more than 20 apps and delivered. So that is with respect to Flutter. So currently I am working as a Flutter developer in Dreamsoft Innovations Private Limited. So okay, yeah. Okay, so on cross-platform introduction to cross-platform development. So what exactly cross-platform development is? So when you mention as a cross-platform development, you will be developing a application at once for more than one platform. For example, if in a single code base, you will be developing a application for both Android, iOS, web, desktops, etc., etc. So when you are developing a application for more than one platforms at once in a single code base, so we call those as a cross platform development. So there are many cross platform development frameworks available. So people, companies choose this because this is cost effective, and since we are we don't have to maintain multiple teams for different platforms. So at once you can develop for all the platforms, right? So you can your development cost will be reduced to only one team. So and it is faster because at once, since you're developing for multiple platforms, it you have to develop only one. So at that time it will be available for all the platforms as well. So using cross platform development, you can cover if you have a business, so your product can reach to wider range of audience independent of platforms. Okay, so on a brief note, how this is how will be the architecture of a generic cross-platform development framework. So the first layer will be business logic, where you will be writing the code. So that is your code. Then there will be some framework which will have implementation for all the APIs, whatever you are using. So on the base level, there will be separate implementation for individual platforms. Okay, so using this is how will be the a generic framework uh, what we say, it is a architecture for a framework, cross platform framework. So yeah. So popular cross platform development frameworks are Flutter, React Native, and Xamarin. So we will be talking about those individually. So as an overview on Xamarin, Xamarin was developed by Microsoft, and it uh, it it is popular because of C sharp language. So it is popular because of C sharp language. So all the C sharp DLLs or any other libraries which are already developed for C sharp can be used in Xamarin. So since most of the industries use C sharp, so they tend to use Xamarin. They were using Xamarin. So Xamarin enables all the platform specific APIs for from single DLL. So this was backed by Microsoft. So recently, in the sense, from May, the Xamarin will be discontinued. So we can't use Xamarin anymore. So it will be outdated. So on React Native is a software framework developed from Facebook. So it the language which you will be using for React Native is JavaScript. So React Native in React Native, when developing, you will be using a DOM structure development. So you will be writing it like a HTML normal web kind of code. So this is the language which you use is a JavaScript. Of course, it is developed by Facebook. Okay. So React Native is why should you choose a React Native if you are using? So the main advantage is it is a component based architecture, which means you will be writing individual blocks for whatever the UI elements or any business logic. So it is a component based, and it is highly reusable. So and second thing is virtual DOM, which means uh, the things which changes in the when you are rebuilding your UIs, or when it is refreshing, when you are playing any animation, or when you are uh, when you're animating something, or when some change components or some UI element, when some UI element changes in the UI, in your app, at that time, for the optimization, React Native uses something called as virtual DOM. So what it does is nothing but it will repaint only the stuff which has been changed. So because of that, it is faster, and it runs faster, and it is it optimizes the UI rebuilds. And for in the syntax of this is like JSX syntax, which means it is a combination of JavaScript and XML like syntaxes. So where you will be having attributes and tags similar to HTML, all those stuff. So for the responsiveness, you can use the flex boxes, and if you know CSS, so it will be even more easier for you. So understanding all this stuff. So for it is React Native was developed so that a web developer can easily learn across platform development. So it is focused in those uh, in that way. So because of since most of the people have if any web developer wants to be develop port their app into Android or iOS, so they can do it with the minimum stage, effort using React Native. So that's why where it shines. So React Native is used for Facebook ads and Oculus desktop, Messenger desktop, all these applications. React Native will be used, is already used. So and in the Microsoft, it React Native is used for Microsoft Office, Outlook, Teams, Skype. All these products are built using React Native. So introduction to the Flutter. So what is Flutter? Okay, so Flutter is a open source UI framework which is developed by Google. It is it allows developer to you can build native apps. You can build native like apps and multi-platform apps in using single code base. So we use Dart for the Dart language as a programming language for the Flutter. So advantage of Flutter is it is widget based architecture. So because of that you can modularize your code, and you can keep everything organized and everything. So main advantage of Flutter is, the area where Flutter shines is a hot reload and hot restart. So if you are developing application, you don't have to stop and rerun it again and again in order to see your changes. So you because of hot reload and hot restart, you can see your changes instantly, and it is a faster way of development that saves your time, and you can immediate that saves your time. So because of this, most of the developer prefer Flutter. So even okay, most of the people prefer Flutter. So on the experience side, on the on the developer experience side, it is easy to code. Okay, so Flutter Dart is a hybrid language where it took every easy stuff from all the languages. So when you see on the syntaxes or anything of the Dart, it is very simple compared to other C sharp or maybe Java. It is so Dart is very easy to learn. And since Flutter is a cross-platform development, cross-platform framework, you write it once and it will be uniform for all the you know at once you can deploy for 5 different platforms. So Flutter by default has a lot of UI frameworks which are already built in. So Flutter, and since it is community backed, even open source open source developers also contribute to the widgets library or maybe library set. So all those whatever things you need, people most of the stuff is already built. So people open source, it may be open source community or maybe the Flutter team, so they have already built all the widgets what is required, and even customization is very easy since it is a open source. So you can customize it however you want. So these are the big companies which use Flutter. So on the architecture of Flutter, so Flutter is layered into 3 different architect. Flutter is built on 3 layers. So base layer is embedder, which means every platform says a specific painting or maybe operation and execution, all those whatever required for the thread event loop or maybe anything required for the platform level, all those will be in the embedder. So if you want to implement a feature which is not available currently, so then you have to go write a platform specific code. So which you so if you are writing a separate this is where you will write your code independently for every different platform. So and above that is a engine, so where all the Flutter related stuff, painting, all those calculation, everything will be happening. And above that is a framework. This is where you will writing your code. So all the widgets what we write, all the pages what we write, everything will be we will be writing in this framework layer. So why to choose Dart? So Dart is an object-oriented language. So because of this, you can your code organization will be better, and so Dart supports all the object-oriented operations like inheritance, polymorphism, or maybe classes, objects. All those stuff. Dart supports everything, and that has extra things such as extension methods or maybe etc. So those stuff will be useful when you are developing application. So from the developer experience, Dart is very easy to code compared to other languages, because Dart is strongly typed, which means every it can be strongly typed or it might be weak typed as well. So if you are writing a strong type programming which will cover most of your runtime errors and all the null exceptions, type mismatch exceptions, all the run most of the runtime errors exception, and things which will cause crashes will be solved if you are using that strongly typed. So all the all the errors will be handled in the compile time itself. So because of since Dart is a open source language, right? So it has a type support for tooling supports, such as if you are using any IDs such as VS Code or maybe Android Studio, all those all supports Dart syntaxes, and it will be it has some code generations and stuff which will be helping you in the development. So syntaxes of Dart is very simple, so you don't have to it is familiar, it is similar to the all the existing syntaxes like they're in Java, or maybe some syntaxes are similar to JavaScript, some are similar to Python. So whichever so syntax is similar, so familiar. If you are transitioning from any other language to Dart, you can easily understand Dart. So Dart has extra things such as optional typing and named parameter, cascading methods, all those stuff. So because of these, you can organize your codes, or maybe uh, it helps you in writing a better code. So for example, this is a simple syntax of a Dart class. So where it takes two parameter a and b, and it has two methods called as add and multiply. So it takes two. So because usage of this will be very simple, so I have already given some examples, so you can refer. These are the examples for the optional parameters and named parameters. So using one, if you are writing the same thing in Java or maybe any other language, your class declaration method will be too big, code will be too big. So in Dart it is very simple. So null safety, this is the advantage of Dart. Okay, so this what it does is nothing but when you will be taking care of all the null exception, null variables in the compile time, which means when you're writing, you should be handling all the null annotations, everything should be handled properly. Otherwise, you can't run the app. So all the null errors will be taken care in the compile time itself, so that you don't have to you will not you should not get any, so that you won't get any runtime null exception. So So on a null safety, this is how you will be define. This is how you will be declaring a null variable. For example, b. So here the null variables are defined, annotated with a question mark saying that it can be null. So if you are handling null variables without null checks, it will be a compile time error, so that your program won't run. So you should solve that in the compile time itself. So in order to handle those null variables, you have something called as null checks. So for example, in this example, we are giving a default value. For example, if b is null, then we will take a default value as 0. Or if c is null, we'll take a default value 0. If c is not null, we'll take a value c, or otherwise we'll take a value as 0. So this is how a null safety works. So if you have null safety, you can pass null, for a null variable you can pass null values. So these are the some different ways of using it. So if you pass null, if you are trying to pass a null value for a non-null variable, it will be a compile time error which you have to solve before running the program. Yeah, because of null safety, you'll be reducing risk of a null pointer exception or any some crashes in the runtime. So because of null safety, your code will be, you can handle most of the errors in the compile time itself. So second biggest advantage is asynchronous programming in Dart. So what you will be doing is everything what you write will be asynchronous and await. So handling a future, maybe a network request, or maybe a DB call, or maybe any other asynchronous values, asynchronous requests handling is very simple in Dart. So in order for the multitasking, we have something called as event loops and isolates. So which will handle on multi-threading and parallel processing. And for the network request, or maybe which take some, for any request which may take time, so for those we have asynchronous and await, so which is a future. And we have one more thing called as streams, so which will be as continuous asynchronous data. So for those we have streams in Dart. So using Flutter, you can at once you can develop for Android, iOS, web, Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. So at once you will be developing for 5 different platforms if you are using Flutter. So why Flutter? So it is, why should you use Flutter? So it is because it is, whatever you develop in Flutter, everything is a widget. So including your button, or maybe your text box, or maybe your background, or maybe your page, everything is a widget. So any complex layout can be split into multiple parallel in a small widgets and can be used. So it's because of this, Flutter team and community has provided a lot of widgets, pre-built widgets which you can use in your app, such as app bar, drawers, containers, columns, or maybe some fancy widgets as well, scrolling, everything. Community and Flutter team has already provided. So you can use those, or else you can, if you want, you can build your own widgets as well. So hot, because advantage of Flutter, one more Flutter is hot reload. Because of this, if you change any widget, so it will be automatically reflected to the page. For example, if you change text of a text widget, and if you reload, it will automatically, it will reflect immediately without restarting. So that is the advantage of hot reload, so which will improve your speed, and it will improve your speed of development, and which is very easy to trial and error, so until it is very easy to perfect. So, and second, next thing is Flutter has already a pre-built large library of widgets. So anything what you need, any UI what you need is already, you know, built. It might be built in some way. So if you want anything specific, or if you want your own custom things, you can build it very easily without any complexity. So yeah. So all the widgets what you want will be available in the Flutter documents. So this is a URL where you can see all the Flutter widgets. So yeah, second thing is large library, packages. So any, pubdev is a package library, package repository which will be used for Dart. So everything, pubdev has more than 33,000 packages. So any functionality what you need will be covered, most of them will be covered by either one of those packages. So anything what you need will be available in the pubdev in one or the other way. So because of this, you can easily build your application. And second thing is, this is all these are community driven. So most of these packages are from community and from you know uh, Flutter team as well. And there are some packages which are you know developed by Google as well. So even Google is a contributor for the pubdev packages. So whatever the things you need, most of those will is available in the pubdev. So for example, these are the basic widgets in a Flutter. So if you want a page, you have a scaffold. If you want app bar, you have app bar widget. If you want to keep, widgets horizontally, you have rows and columns, list views, containers. If you want to give any background color, for all the stuff, you have containers. Then you have, these are the layout widgets, and then you have specific widgets such as text, icons, button, text fields, etc. So all these will be the final touching and widgets which you will be using most. So for example, if you have a layout like this, so how do you develop this using Flutter? So first thing, we have to identify the layouts. So first thing is, we have a background color which is a green color. So for that, we are using a widget container. So then we have a row with the three childrens. So for that, we will be using row. Then we have a two with one column with one icon and text. So for this, we will be using column. So for the text, we will be using text widget, and for the icon, we will be using icon widget. So this is how you will be decoding any, if you have any design or anything. So this is how you can build it using Flutter. So for example, see, this is how much code you will be writing in order to get a simple counter application. For example, well, this page, this is a simple counter application. When you click on plus button, it will increment the count. So if you are it will be in Flutter, you will be building it in only one widget. So as I mentioned, we have a scaffold, app bar, a center widget in order to get everything to center, a column where you have to, since we have to keep two text widgets, one below the other. So this is how we will be developing. This is the code of a simple counter application. So why to choose Flutter? So one simple thing is Flutter. Writing you have writing code in Flutter is simple. That is simple. So here we have the comparison of the code of a class which does the same thing. So if you can, so as mentioned here, so you will be writing less code in order to get the same functionality. So you will be writing less code and more effective codes at once. And this is a comparison with respect to a simple network request. So if you are doing a simple network request, which you will be doing most of the time if you are building an application, so uh, this is how much code you will be writing in Flutter if you are writing in Dart versus if you are writing in native. So this is what the comparison, this is where it will save your time. And the application which I showed, a counter application. So if you are developing the same thing in native, so you will be writing a two files with this much code, or else if you are choosing Flutter, it is a simple one class code. Okay, so this will be the result for both of the code. So how fast you can develop app in Flutter? So we, we'll try a chat app building. So what we are exactly building is nothing but we are building a simple chat application which is similar to chat gpt, where you will send in a message, it will respond you with a answer. Okay, so how fast can we build this? So first thing is nothing but we have to create a Flutter application. So in order to create a Flutter application, we have to run this command, that is nothing but Flutter create and our application name. So what we will name our application as chat with gpt. So we will run Flutter create chat with gpt. So second thing is, now we have to run our application. So in order to run into a device, we will run Flutter run. So this is a command which will start your Flutter application. So second thing is, let's create a chat page. So in order to get a page, it is all widgets. So we will create a stateful widget, a custom widget where it will return many more widgets such as scaffold and a app bar, which will give you a current result. If you write this much code, you will get a result like this. Next, implementing the message box. So we need a message box to write. So in order to organize our code, we create one more widget called as message box, where it will have a text field and an icon button for the send button. So yeah. And in order to display that message box, we will add it as a bottom navigation bar, bar of a scaffold of a chat page. So from if you do this much, you'll get that result like this. Then implementing a tracking message. So in order to track messages, we need a data, right? So for that, we create a class where which will have message and who is a sender. So first, we'll in order to implement that state, we will have three things. First thing is, in order to keep track all the messages, we need a variable. So we create a list of messages variable. Second thing is, we need to show those variable, show the messages. So in order to show that, we have a widget called as list view builder. So we will build messages using list view builder from the existing list. And third thing is, whenever we click on send, we need message to be appended to that messages, our variable. So we will do that and rebuild our widget. So if you do this much code, you'll achieve current result. So far we have implemented just message basic stuff. So next, implementing the GPT part. So we need to get a response for every our queries, right? So in order to do that, we will go for the pubdev, the package library. So from there, we will find a package which will help us in communicating with ChatGPT. So I found this package.chatgpt. We can use this. So we will add it to our Flutter project using Flutter pub add. So from the documentation, we got code on how to use that. So first thing is we have to initialize the plugin. According to the documentation, we have to initialize the plugin. So we will use the same code and we will initialize our plugin. Second part is requesting part. Okay, so we'll get code from the example and we will use it in our application. So this has messages and we will be giving the message current messages, and chat gpt will give us the latest response. So if you get that code and write it here, you get communication with chat gpt as well. So if you do this much, if you write this much code, you'll get a base chat gpt application like this. So where for your query, you will get a response from the chat gpt. Okay. Next is styling. So in order to, since we are building a chat application, we will add a chat bubbles and chat bubbles for our all of our messages. So in order to do that, we go again back to the pub.dev. From there, we find a package which will give us a chat bubbles widget. So I found this package called as chat bubbles, which will have using which you can build chat bubbles. So from the example, they have given different examples on how to use that. We will pick one which is required for us, and we will use it. We will return that chat bubble instead of our normal text. So if we do this much, we get a result like this. So this is a final result on building a GPT application. So now if we want to animate a chat bubble, so we will be again heading back to the pub dev. We will be picking a package called as animate do. So what it does is nothing but it has pre-built animations, so which can be used for our chat bubble applications. So from their documentation, again we pick which animation we need and we wrap that. We use those animations as a simple widgets for it. Okay, if you do this much, this is the result what we will be achieving. So this whatever the application what we have built so far is uh, supported for Android, iOS, web, Windows, macOS, and Linux. For all the five platforms, your application uh, your application is supported for all the five platforms. So within maybe 15 minutes, you have already built a application which will answer queries using ChatGPT. So this is how you can build your applications this fast. You can build applications using Flutter. Yeah, so if you want to learn more about Flutter, so you can go to their Flutter tutorials, their official tutorials. Or maybe if you want to learn more about Dart languages, Dart has tutorials, and you can refer their docs and tutorials if you want to learn more. Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Rit- uh, so, uh, uh, Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Um,
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. On behalf,
Hello. Yes.
yeah, 1 minute. Yeah, sir. I would like to thank Mr. Ritesh. The talk was very informative. I hope Mr.
It
Ritesh
is.
speak to you later.
Okay.
Ritesh sir, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ritesh sir, actually it was a very beautiful presentation. Actually, it's a very good presentation on the Flutter. I have one question for you. Can I
Yes.
ask?
Yes, you can.
Sir, how do you think this Flutter is going to work for both desktop and web application? Whether is there any difference in that when compared to the mobile applications?
No.
Whether
When
it
you
is
are
completely supportive? That is what my question is.
sorry, is it completely?
Whether the Flutter or the Dart language which we are using to develop a
Dear
mobile
students,
app, whether it is
thank you for
completely
attending this
supportive
program.
for developing the web apps and the desktop applications, sir?
It is. You will be developing it at once, so there is no difference if you are developing it for a web or maybe a desktop. So when you are developing in Flutter, it is same for both.
Okay, okay, okay.
You don't have to do anything extra or nothing like that. So when you're
Uh,
developing,
uh,
even though Flutter has one disadvantage come in web, that is nothing but
mhm.
search engine optimization. So you can't
Okay,
build websites. So I'm specifying webs. You can't build websites. So you can
uh,
build web apps such as admin panels, or maybe
okay,
the where you know resource heavy applications what will be there, right? So you
okay,
can build those in Flutter, but not the search engine optimized websites. So
okay. Okay, sir. Okay. Okay. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.